Hello and welcome to today's Daily Rift. I'm Stormo, and it's been a bit of a funny week for me. Just haven't been able to find a lot of the time I've needed to make videos, so finally got a little bit of time today, but I'm not sure how much I'll be able to get done. I had promised the Sonic CD video this week. That might have to wait until next week, depending on what happens tomorrow. But I just don't have time right now. I may find time this afternoon, but I can't guarantee that to record everything. So, anyway, I'm getting videos done as it is, so that's good. And we've got this map, which I'm not a big fan of. Probably hasn't helped that I got City Skylines yesterday, and I've been putting a lot of time into that since I got it. So I haven't had a huge amount of time to do other things, because that game is, let's face it, a massive time sink. So yeah, and I will probably be making a video on that sometime soon as well, because I really want to talk about City Skylines and what it gets right that EA's SimCity game got so incredibly wrong a couple of years ago. I think you can probably imagine that there's a few things that it gets right, and certainly it does get them right, and especially compared to EA's effort of a few years ago, or Maxis's effort of a few years ago, which was just one of the most disappointing games I think I've ever played, because it was so, I guess it was so close to being good, to being what they told us it would be, but then they saddled it with all these really bad decisions. And I know EA will crow about the fact that it's sold really well and all that kind of stuff, but I guarantee that most of the people that bought it were just bitterly disappointed by it. And you can sort of tell that by the fact that they've just recently announced they're closing that Maxis studio, which is the original Maxis studio. Of a few weeks ago, they announced that they would be closing that. And it's a bit sad, because that's the studio that all the old Maxis, pre-EA Maxis was from. But in a lot of ways, I think Maxis died a long time ago, probably sometime between SimCity 4 and SimCity Societies, which they didn't work on. But at some point then, that was when it all sort of went to crap, I guess. And these days they basically exist as the studio that pumps out the Sims games. And while I have no problem with the Sims, like, I like it as a concept, I find the games pretty tedious. So much prefer to sit down and just manage a city. And fortunately, the guys behind the Cities in Motion games have decided that that's the kind of game they want to make. And I'm telling you, it is a direct rip on SimCity, 2013 SimCity. It looks like the same game, just with a slightly more polished user interface. And perhaps slightly less polished graphics. Like, there's a few rough edges here and there, but anyway, I'll talk more about that when we get around to making that video, which will be in a little while, because it is worth talking about. I've got a few other things I'm going to have to get sorted first, including a Helldivers review, which I have to write for Rocket Chainsaw, the website I write for, and that'll happen in a while. So anyway, how are we going here? We're getting through this moderately quickly. I'm just sort of taking my time today. Not really fussing too much, but things will die pretty quickly because we are incredibly overpowered. I'm almost tempted to go up a difficulty level, but I feel like going up a difficulty level will actually sacrifice efficiency. And to an extent, efficiency is something I want to be with this game. So I just feel that this is the most efficient way. Like, if I go up a difficulty level, yes, it'll be more challenging, but it won't be as quick, and I won't gain. It comes down to, will the increased challenge and reward make up for the additional time? And I don't feel it will at this point. I like being able to just get through here quickly. Of course, once we get to like level 70 and stuff, that's when we'll start tweaking our difficulty levels and stuff, because it becomes a game of how efficiently can you clear this difficulty before you need to go up to the next one. So that's how we're trying to do it at the moment. For some reason my companion didn't appear to be out then. Either I couldn't notice it, or it didn't appear to be actually flying around. They're supposed to be permanently flying around, but weird. Maybe it was out and I just didn't notice it. I'll look back on the video later and I'll be like, oh, it was out all along. I feel like such an idiot. Oh. Well, them's the breaks, I guess. So, I suppose the other thing to talk about too a little bit is Final Fantasy 13, which I'm still trying to get through. Just again, it's just been a case of not having had time. Sort of real life changes and various other things around me basically limited my time that I have available to make videos right now. So I didn't even get around to making any yesterday. I had the one go up, but I haven't had a chance to actually record ahead for a little while. This week's just been a bit messy like that. Hopefully I can get back on track soon, because it is kind of annoying not being able to record when I want to. But yeah, it's mostly circumstances outside of my control for some of it, and some of it's mostly like maybe me being a bit slack than I should be. I really should be a little bit less slack, but yeah, it's just hard to get everything happening in that regard. So here we go. Try and record this. I'm going to try and record 2 of these videos today, so I've got today's and tomorrow's up and running. But I can't promise that that'll happen. So, yep. Nice bunch of mobs here. We're up to 3. I'm not sure when we hit it, but we're up to 3 affixes on our mobs. Don't walk into that. That would be bad. Well, I'd probably survive it, given how overgeared I am at the moment. But don't want to take the risk. Just play nice and clean, risk-free. Looks like we look back around here, so I'll go back to where we came. I didn't really need to pick that up. Yeah, well, my problem is that I abuse Vault all the time, so I always end up running out of discipline because of that. So it looks like this is the right way to go. Or at least the more enemy-saturated way to go. This is what we want. Saturated enemies. Polar station. Cool. Ah, cool. That is cool, actually. That means I can change that over. Because Polar Station is one of the things we want, the sentry build we want. So, I've got a clear moment here. Appear to. I will change my sentry rune to Polar Station, and I think that means... no, it doesn't mean that. No. Okay, everything else is fine. Just that was the thing I needed to change. So, we've got everything else we need. So Polar Station has the effect, you can see it on the sentries there, of creating a field around each sentry that slows enemies down. This works extremely well in tandem with things like Cull the Weak, which affects slowed enemies, and it helps you slow enemies that aren't otherwise being hit by weapons. And of course it allows you to create these roadblocks around where you're fighting. Like you can see there, I'm able to use on these narrow paths, these roadblocks that enemies have to pass through, and it allows you to keep your distance from them, which is really good. So, oh wow, we've got that area. That's an interesting zone to be in. So you can see they're instantly putting that up, slowed all those enemies, and I can just shoot through the slowing area. Unfortunately, the slowing area doesn't stack, so if you have like 3 sentries placed right on top of each other, you don't get like double slowdown and stuff like that. But that's not a big deal, because it just lets you create a larger area for the slowing effect, which in a lot of ways is what you want. And I'm not too fussed one way or the other. Let's see if we can get up in here actually. There we go, got him nice and clean. And we'll head down, going down to a 3rd level, which we won't be in for very long, I suppose. Ugh. Could have been a nicer 3rd level. I had a feeling it was going to be this, because I always seem to get this after I get that one. So I think there's some themes that Blizzard have when they make these. We're not going to be here for long anyway, because we're very close to the end. Lots of molten enemies today. Don't go in that. Molten isn't dangerous, except for that explosion at the end that you got to be careful not to walk into, is you got to loot them. So that's always my feelings with it anyway. Probably didn't pick that. Oh, that's right. I have a puzzle ring, don't I? That's why I've got like that treasure goblin running around. Completely forgotten I had the puzzle ring. It's not a great ring. The effect isn't. The effect seems cooler than it actually is, because you very rarely get anything useful out of it. So it's almost not worth it. Like, it helps clean up white items, so you're not constantly picking them up. But it just, yeah, there are better rings and better rings for you, I guess. That's the best way to say it. Here we go. So, the Rift Guardian. Is that the Rift Guardian? No, he's over there. It's an Infernal Mating. So it's not a he, it's a she. But she's brought some friends, which is a little bit annoying. Hopefully we can get this out of the way. So the downside to using Polar Station is that the Spitfire turret sentry actually gives more damage, but ultimately I feel that the combination of this with Colour Weak overall is probably stronger. So I'm actually going to keep moving a little bit because I want to get to that. So hopefully everything's cleared and I can take a look at our inventory. We got some legendary boots, which hopefully will be a good upgrade for us. Yeah, that's Iron Toe Mud Spitters. They're not great, but I'm gonna call that an upgrade. What else have we got that's an upgrade? A few other things here and there. So see how we go. Yeah, that's an upgrade. That's a big upgrade actually because it's got the 3 gem sockets. That's not an upgrade, not an upgrade, not an upgrade, not an upgrade. No, looks like we've got everything we're going to need for the moment. So that's today's video and I will see you all tomorrow.